Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Two, where it's our show where we review things in the world of television. It may include episode by episode reviews, season by season reviews, but today we're doing a TV movie review because next week we are returning to the world of High School Musical in terms of High School Musical, the series season 3 episode reviews are starting up next week. I'm very excited to return back to a very familiar universe, a new take on the franchise. A very good expansion, as well as doing its own thing. And today, ironically, we're talking about the final of the High School Musical movies with the spinoff, Sharpay's Fabulous Event. I teased this last year. I'm like, I'm really regretting seeing this movie because I have not seen it since I was a kid in full. I've seen snippets then and there, since then, obviously. And I will say this, baseline first impression. It's clear as day, yeah, this is like, out of the 4 High School Musical movies, well, you know what I mean. It is my least favorite one. It is not the best. It really isn't. It's not bad. I may have overblown it out of proportion. It was not bad. It was cringy at times. It was unnecessary. The High School Musical trilogy ended on a high note. In theaters, having the 6 go off onto their own adventures, kind of unaware of what might happen next. Like, obviously, we would love to know, does Troy and Gabriella make it? How does Ryan survive in, New York pre-Sharpay, in this, new adult environment for him? Does damn, I forgot the other 2 characters. Monique and, it's been a while since. And also Corbin Blue's character's coming back next week, so I really should remember the name. Chad, do they survive, actually being in a relationship? And does Sharpay actually kind of grow? Because it seems like every time we end the High School Musical movie, it seems like Sharpay learned a lesson, and then the next movie around, she kind of regresses back to her original self, which it makes sense because the original movie was supposed to be a standalone thing. They never intended to do a trilogy of it. So it's kind of like, okay, how do we continue repeating the same trope? Because, yes, Troy and Gabriella are the most memorable parts of the trilogy, but Sharpay is kind of like that breakout character that everyone just kind of mean. She's not really a villain. She's more like a thorn in everyone's side. So how do we make a movie about her? How do we pick that story up? Because this feels like it's so independent of High School Musical, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Where for me, I would have liked it there to be a little, and there will be spoilers throughout this entire movie. So if you care or not, go for it. I really, this was supposed to be, we pick up her story where we left off, where the 3 ended with the promise that, she was going to stay around East High, and then she was going to, still support the drama department in order to kind of, be a full thorn still in the new generation side of things, which honestly would have kept the door open for her to come back in a 4th movie, like a proper 4th installment, because I know there were rumors for a long time of them doing a kind of like a standalone semi reboot in the same universe. I've heard rumors, and that would have been a great way to give Ashley Tisdale an in if she wanted to continue playing Sharpay, by maybe more of a mentorship role this time around. This being the avenue where we kind of wrap up the main universe is not really what I prefer. I welcome it because it does give the focus. The problem is with spinoffs is that when you spin off anyone, and yes, I am a champion of spin-off. I love it when shows or movies give characters that we love spin-offs and, and expand the universe. Obviously, we have a lot of that coming up this fall with our sort of content. But with this one, giving Sharpay a spin-off was, how do you do it? You make I'm not even say the villain, just maybe the anti-hero, and give her own movie. With no Troy or Gabriella to go up against her. Her brother's gone, and all of East High, basically, it's her being thrown into the real world, which is also a good analogy. I think this movie succeeds at the end of the day of giving Sharpay some sort of decent character development that allows her kind of not be a completely different person than when we begin in the first movie. As well, it's an analogy that when you finish up high school, that persona you create in high school is not the one you're going to last in the real world. So it's not going to survive out in the real world. And that's kind of how it is. I do appreciate that movie kind of gave us that and kind of, made it work. At the end of the day, but however, in terms of just a quality sense point, obviously, if you're comparing this next to the movies, the other movies, it doesn't even hold a candle to it. The music is not the best. I think the only memorable song is the last song in the movie, and that's about it. But that's even I think okay. It's not the best song I ever heard. It's like you can maybe repeat it one time, but like unlike the rest of the other film soundtrack, where like I literally listen to them when I'm at the gym of all places. So this doesn't do it to me. It doesn't. And but however, it's not meant to be High School Musical for Sharpay's Fabulous. It's Sharpay's movie. This is her movie. This is her story. And that's fine, you know. None of the original team behind the movies were back for this one. It's just her and the Disney producers that I don't know who I don't know who had the right idea. Like, let's give Sharpay a spinoff. Let's do with that. But you know what? Let's screw it. They made the movie, and yeah, I watched it. It was okay. So going into deeper of it, because so the movie picks up like less than a year since senior year left off. So all like the whole like predictions of like, oh, Sharpay's still in U of A, and you know she's doing theater and she's still at East Side. Nah, all those plans kind of went away. I'm assuming this is summer break for her, so it's kind of been more than a year. So her dad said it's been a year, so I was like, we're just gonna go with that. She said screw college, screw helping East High. She's kind of been doing some solo performances at the country club from the second movie. She's still living with her parents, and she's still a spoiled rich brat who still thinks the world of herself. Because again, in your small town, yeah, like eventually you'll make a name for yourself. They're like, yeah, you know, you're like a celebrity to them. But of course, obviously, Sharpay has bigger dreams to break it onto the big screen, on the big stage someday. That's her goal. But it's been a while since that has happened. And she gets an offer to come to New York City to supposedly audition for this brand new play starring this very big fictitious mainline actress who is also breaking into the Broadway scene for the first time. So she thought, this is it. This is my opportunity. This is my chance. And her dad's like, I don't believe you're ready. Like, yeah, I think you're doing good here in Albuquerque, but I don't think you're doing well. I don't think you're on track to go to New York. And honestly, yeah. I mean, I think the Sharpay that we ended off 3 with may have been the one ready for it. But at the end of the day, like, in terms of, like, you know, you're coming into your adulthood. Like, you know, you're not a kid anymore. You're about to take your first steps into figuring out who you're going to be for the rest of your life. Like, you know, Sharpay hasn't really done that because certain people, like, okay, I'm not going to say this is universal because if I was reviewing this movie pre-college, I would have said, oh yeah, exactly. But I've grown a lot. It's been a long 6 years since I was in that position that Sharpay was in. So I understand, like, yeah, it's not as simple. If your destiny is for you to leave home and find your own path out in the world, that's fine. But some people prefer to stay home, and you know, depending on where they live, they could still have some good avenues for them to explore. It's not a universal thing. Yes, yeah, almost everyone in the East High cast have left, you know, Albuquerque. Troy left, Gabrielle left, Monique left. I think Chad's still in town, but and obviously Ryan went off to New York. And that's another unique thing is that they have not made a single East High School Musical reference till like the very end post credit scene in the movie. That's it. It's just so independent. Like even when they mention high school, they just call it high school. They don't even mention East High. Like it would have gotten so much of a rise out of audience members. Like, oh, they mentioned it. They mentioned the thing. Like, you know, because I think it's been 3 years since between this movie and 3. So it's been 3 years. So it's been a while. Like they could have had a whole nother trilogy since then, but it's been a while since we explored these characters again. So everyone was just kind of anxious to kind of, you know, get those references back and, you know, maybe getting some actual cameos. But at the end of the day, before I go back into the storyline, I thought it would have been unnecessary. Yeah, I've heard rumors that Gabriella was going to make a cameo in this, but it would have been such a sore thumb with the story. Like it would have just been fan service out the wazoo. It wouldn't have made sense, which I understand. Like, yeah, you know, I understand why they would have wanted to do it, like just to get like more money going. But like, you know, it's either you get one of them or you get all of them. You can't have like really in between, in my opinion, at least. So anyway, moving forward. So she eventually gets convinced to go to New York via some weird pre-PowerPoint bulletin board, poster board nonsense. It works, but the agreement is that she has to go only for 1 month, which is honestly like really like, you know, I understand how expensive New York is, but like her dad's only giving her 1 month, 30 days to go to New York, make a living, and get on Broadway. A whole month to get on Broadway. It's like a film student coming out of university. It's like, I'm gonna get an Oscar by next year. It's like it's not impossible. Like, you're really pushing it, especially like you got a month to kind of make it onto Broadway. Even like rehearsals alone, it takes longer than that to rehearse a play. It's not like a whole month. But like, he's like, okay, I'll do it. Otherwise, when you come back, you have to work for me. Like, no more luxury lifestyle. Like, you'll still live at the house, but you get a paycheck every week. You kind of get cut off from everything. You got to learn how to be an adult. And honestly, it is scary when you think about it, because like, if she fails, like, when she comes back home, there is no reprisal. There is no second attempt. She's gonna work for the rest of her life, and that's all her time's gonna be. Maybe eventually she'll take over the club, but she won't be able to pursue her true passions, which makes it scary. But at first she's like, I got this in the bag. So they go to New York, and I'm pretty sure like they filmed a decent chunk of the movie in another country. I want to say Canada, but I don't want to be too like, oh, Canada's like the easiest place to go film big city scenes. I'm not gonna try to say that at all, but I would assume they spent at least a little bit of time in New York. Not too much, because New York's hella expensive to film it. I mean, I don't even know how some of these other shows and movies afford it, but this is a Disney Channel original movie type directed DVD movie, so I know they're not gonna afford New York for the whole production schedule. They're not at all. But by the time she gets there, it's reality spat in her face. She doesn't get everything she wants. She's kind of having to settle a lot on certain things. And we get to see Austin Butler, which everyone now knows him of Elvis fame. Of all the movies I decided to see Austin Butler with this one, I picked this movie. I haven't seen Elvis yet. I know my usual co-host, it's just George hasn't. He said it's a good movie. So I'm like, I wish I could have seen him in that, but I'm like, you know what? This is the one. This was the movie that kind of made him into like a heartthrob, because he was always in the early Nickelodeon stuff before he jumped ship to Disney, and then he jumped ship to kind of like doing like these random side projects, and just kept getting good looking. Also, that man somehow got Vanessa Hudgens for 9 years, and he lost her. Obviously, there's a lot more to say, but how dare you, good sir? Like, if I was dating her, I would not let her go. Then I understand they both have working careers. They're both busy people. It can get difficult to manage a relationship like that. I get it. I don't need to say more of that, but I'm like, he had her. He had when Zac Efron lost. He had her, and he lost her too. So I'm like, God damn it. Anyway, moving on forward. But going into the rest of the movie, where Sharpay really gets thrown up to the wayside. It is like basically how life is for some people. Like, you have this expectation that everything's supposed to be handed to you on a silver platter. You're supposed to get all these opportunities presented to you, but no, that's not how it works. Like, you're not the only one out there. Like, there's, again, billions of people out in the world and millions in New York City. You don't expect there to be a lot of other people that are just exactly like you. You're not special. You got to work to make yourself special. So that was kind of like the moral of the movie, where like Sharpay had to kind of like go back to really get deconstructed to a new level that she's never felt in the three movies, and having to adapt to this new environment, still keeping her dream alive, but also having to be aware that what she used to do back in high school isn't how things gets done here on like the actual main stage. Also, they brought in Bradley. I think his name is Brandon Perry. I believe that's the actor's name. The young kid of the movie. And oh my god, he was so old by the time I watched him last back in 2018. Like, he got so old. I'm so old. Like, Jesus. Like, these actors grow the hell up pretty quickly. But in terms of like the actual story, like the rest of it's like yeah, so it's like we eventually meet the fictitious actress named Amber, and she's just like Sharpay, like Sharpay back in high school, but just even more intensified, corrupted by the wealth and fame. So she's really like, at first she like, nowadays I'm like, I even knew like her first delivery line. I'm like, yeah, you're not who you say you are. You're not. I don't believe this whatsoever. And then the moment like he's like, yeah, she turns and she's like, yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. And then going from that point onwards, yeah, having her be the antagonist, like she is an antagonist, like in a way, like she knows that Sharpay wants her position, but she doesn't want it. Like she needs to be the only one. She's not gonna let anyone else risk her title, her glory, and such like that. And then you have Austin's character just trying to support Sharpay along. And it's also really nice for like, there's an honest guy who actually takes an interest to Sharpay, because Sharpay was pining over Troy all throughout the trilogy. He never once replicated the feelings. And then she had another guy who was actually into her, but he's like, I don't want him. It's like, Jesus, like, don't ask me, like, where are the nice guys at? Like, you had a nice guy all throughout high school who wanted to date you, bake for you, and you're like, nah. I'm like, Jesus. Like, open your eyes to what's in front of you. Like, damn, like that. Come on, man, come on. By the time we reach the end of the movie, for me, it becomes like, most of the movie after that's like kind of like, generic. It's generic where like Sharpay goes through the motions of like, learning how reality works and how like not important she is. Meanwhile, her dog and then this other dog they're having a competition with for the role, because apparently Sharpay was never even looked at to be the lead because they already cast the lead. They were just looking for the dog, and they wanted to hit her dog. So there was another dog in contention, and they fall in love. Honestly, I would have loved to see a whole movie with these dogs. And I know there's a movie called Lady and the Tramp I could just easily see whenever I want, but I'm like, where's the live action Lady and the Tramp remake? You're remaking all these movies, Disney. You're remaking Aladdin, you're remaking Lion King, you're doing Little Mermaid, you did Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast. Like, where is our Lady and the Tramp remake? Come the hell on. Let Andy Serkis direct it. Let us act like dogs. Continuing onwards. By the time the movie ends, it was very generic how it ends, like the villain kind of updos herself, and, Sharpay at first is treated as like a bad person because, she forgets to realize, okay, yeah, Amber may have been a piece of shit, but she gave all these people jobs. Like, Broadway is such a difficult area to work in, especially also that the fact that, actors and actresses are not the only ones struggling to make it in the business. There are many different people behind the scenes, directors, writers, grips, gaffers, lighting team, sound team, camera operator, well, in this case, Broadway, a lot of station, like a lot of people are helping behind the scenes, and, there's only a limited amount of Broadway plays, and there's only a limited amount of, staff they need. So whenever a new play opens up, like, they'll take it. Like, that's like work for them for months. And, at first they're like, oh, Sharpay basically got the play canceled all because she kind of felt like Amber needed to be taught a lesson. Yes, don't be a piece of shit. We understand that. But at the end of the day as well, like, it's a very cruel role out there, and that you need money to pay for it. I made this joke at Riverdale's expense, but like, yes, Riverdale is not the best show. It's probably one of my least favorite shows, if not a bad show on my list. But it gave the cast credibility as actors for them to pursue their own passion project. It gave everyone involved a lot of money. They worked for 7 years straight, and they made a bill. They made a killing. They were one of the biggest shows the CW's ever produced at the time. They're wrapping up next year, but like, hey, they got made a lot of money. They got work. And I'm happy about that. I'm not happy about the whole quality part because that kind of downplayed a lot in the last recent years. But hey, they worked. They had jobs. And that's the harsh reality that people don't forget about. Like, regardless of how a movie is, like, let's say Morbius. Morbius was a horrible movie. I'm gonna admit that for a second. It's a horrible movie. But hey, the crew and cast, they got to work on something for 3 months. They got paid for 3 months. I'm not looking at this as like just like a financial greedy corporate head, but like that's the truth. Like, yes, we have passions. We want to do things we love, but sadly, the hard truth of it is that we cannot pay our bills or our rents or our mortgages with just based on that. You have to make money. So that's how I view it. So when Sharpay was viewed as the villain, I'm like, yeah, she cost them their job. There was a big like risk to like, we may not be working tomorrow. And yeah, there was a fear that like, yeah, the producers, the investors did not want to invest in this project anymore because they lost their lead. She's not signing back on again. Because yeah, even though a small Broadway crowd, now knows the truth about her, I'm pretty sure her reputation won't be over. She'll get a hit. She'll get like a minor hit. Eventually, leak out for a bit, but eventually she'll work again. It's not going to be the end of the world. But they're like, yeah, if she's out, we're not going to produce the play. And they're really worried about it. And here comes Austin Butler's character to the rescue with the mini movie he made about Sharpay's journey in NYC so far, and it wins everyone over to the potential. Like, yeah, Sharpay is a future star. We can bank on her. It's a big risk, but we can bank on her. And it's nice to see like Sharpay finally gets like the final kiss. Like, it's always been Troy and Gabriella. Now it's her turn, and she's very much happy about that. That was like very sweet of her that she's finally getting everything on track. And by the time we reached the actual performance of the play, it was actually really sweet. It really was, to see her mom, her dad, now her boyfriend kind of like just watching her like finally get to that next stage on her own accord and, finally get what she wanted. Like, this is the beginning of the rest of her life, hopefully. At such a young age. I think they only said she was 19, 20 in this movie. So I'm like, yeah, she's already reached this stage a lot faster than a lot of other people. So I'll give her credit there. And that was the end of the movie. Nothing really special there after that. There is a post-credit scene where like, Ryan shows up, but it's a bit of a controversy of a post-credit scene because they said, he's been on tour. So I'm like, is it a musical tour he got a cast in, or is he something he's choreographing in, or like, because he's still in Juilliard, right? You know, that's a 4-year school. I don't think he got that finished done quickly, or unless he got an offer shipped somewhere. So it's kind of like, oh, this is like one of those, like, it's far in the future. So I'm Sharpay's like more in tune with, who really knows? Who really knows? I'm not gonna really stretch too much about it. It was a fun, like, little cameo. Get the twins back together. Get the brother and sister team back together. But you know, but besides that, it was just like, that was it. You know, nothing too special. It was on the Disney Plus version for some reason. It was only on Netflix and DVD. So if you have the DVD, you can watch that scene. I think if it's still on Netflix, you could probably watch it there. But if it's on Disney Plus, they don't have it for some unknown reason, because I don't know. Don't ask me. But anyway, in terms of the film itself, I thought it was okay. It's not as bad as I remember it to, but it's not the greatest one. It's definitely my least favorite of all the High School Musical projects out there. It does give Sharpay a little bit of credibility as her own character, allows her to stand on her own 2 feet. The music isn't great. It's not a High School Musical at all. It's being its own thing. But even like just being advertised as a musical, it's, until the very end, it's not the best. It really is not. But I'll give them credit. And as well as Austin Butler, making his mark on young musicians elsewhere 10 years before, 11 years before his grand debut on the Elvis stage. So that was great. That was great to see as well. But overall, in terms for me, I think Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure is a okay epilogue to the High School Musical story. It definitely gives Sharpay her own, like, 2 feet to stand on her own finally, without any sort of East High interference. And yeah, I would say if you're bored one night and you're just curious, this will be up your alley. But you really don't need to see this. You really don't. Honestly, I would love to see all the High School Musical characters get their own spin-off film. Like, let's get a Romeo and Juliet-esque Chad and Monique spin-off. Like, those two were very underutilized in the movie. Let's give them their own thing. It's already too late. I know that, but still, it would have been very nice to get that. But we haven't. But anyway. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure? Let's start that conversation down below. And I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two, reviewing Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure here on ActionX. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's the Tube, besides our weird TV movie reviews, next week we'll be starting our High School Musical, the series, season 3 episode review. We're heading back into the world of the fictional world that is ours, that watch the movies. Summer vacation, summer camp, it's still hot as hell. So let's get dig it. There's a lot to talk about there. Back in the High School Musical spirit. I've been listening to the songs. I saw this movie. I'm ready to get back to some more weekly High School Musical content. So I'm excited, ready to go. So I can't wait for next week when we start up the season 3 reviews. So check us out there. Check it out. We're also doing Tom Swift episode reviews each and every week after brand new episodes on the CW, so you can also check them out there. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to us if you have not yet on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next review is live. Please also like, favorite, share if you want to. And please also follow us on social media. But until we see each other again, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.